minutes to introduce you to our audiences. Is it okay?
Thank you so much. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So guys, this is the moment for our keynote speaker, Mr. Sambeet Mishra. You'll be surprised to know that he's the director of, let me see, Leader Services at Salesforce. And that is a huge, huge thing that he is among us. Definitely we appreciate his presence. He has more than 28 years of experience, and he strongly believes in 3 mottos for succeeding in business. And those are, I would love to share. Number 1, customer-centric business value. Number 2, incremental growth leveraging Salesforce and partner ecosystem. And finally, number 3, cloud adoption. So welcome, Mr. Sambeet Mishra. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. I hope the video was audible and visible to the whole audience there. Well, again, hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad and happy to be here with you all today. And I hope you had a long day of hackathon. I saw some pictures actually on the LinkedIn posted by Ursula. It's very exciting to see so many participants today there. You know, working out. I know the winners are going to be announced probably shortly, but in advance, congrats to everyone who are the winners for this. I do have 2 special guests today to talk about a little about what we do as in growing talent in the emerging markets, but I'll come to that in a while. Now, truthfully, I'm excited to be in front of you. And I moved my career from being, having a secured government job to Salesforce. But if I look back to that moment, which was 18 years back, I'm very proud of it. And I'm happy that I did that shift to Salesforce. This has been a long journey for me, but it's been very rewarding and very exciting. I've met so many new people, so many trailblazers around. I would say I reinvented the career midway by resetting my mindset. And that's how it is all about, right? You have to change your perception, your perspective about what you want to do and try to achieve that. Now stay with me for 3 minutes. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through something that I have read. I could not, this is the best way to summarize my career and what I wanted to talk about. It was a little difficult for me to, kind of grasp what do I talk to you about from here. I know it's virtual, but stay with me. I'm going to share my screen here quickly, and I want you to go over and read with me on this. Hold on. And we know all the technical glitches which can happen, so bear with me. Okay. I'm going to share this now. Can you see my screen? Okay. Now I want you to take 30 seconds and read below what comes up on the screen right now. I'm not going to read it for you. Just take 30 seconds and read it. This is something that was written by a gentleman called Daniel Abrahams. He's the founder of Hustler. I follow him on LinkedIn pretty much. And I kind of resonate to what I am today based on this that you see on the screen. And I'm definitely going to acknowledge the fact that it is by Daniel Abrahams. I haven't written this out. I'll give you 10 more seconds to read it again. And if you have not finished it yet, and then skip over and stop sharing in a while. But what I also want you to do is read from bottom up now. And 30 seconds again to read it from bottom up. You've read it from the top to bottom, now read it from bottom up. I'm just going to take a pause here. So if you see the understanding and meaning of it, if you start reading it bottom up, something that seemed to be a view of despair when you started from top actually becomes a view in terms of optimism and giving and providing empowerment by simply changing one's perspective. That's exactly what the power of community does. That's exactly what Trailblazer community is all about. it just guides us, explore our talent, optimizing our ability to learn and connect with each other across the Salesforce ecosystem from everywhere. I'm just going to stop the presentation here so that I can come back to the main screen. And isn't that powerful? That's actually a powerful message, because you connect with everybody. You connect with your Trailblazer community. You share your knowledge. You share your learnings across with others around. And we don't have to have all the answers. I mean, I never had to when I shifted my career. The only thing that I had in my mind was the ammunition was the experience to handle myself when I moved from one to others. And I was participating in some of the other sessions by, Roy and Fez, who spoke about the development, the career path in the earlier sessions. It's quite interesting, actually. The bottom line, what I'm trying to say is, if you change, it's important to change your perspective. And if you come out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself to find and grow as a new you, that would be the ultimate that you could do. I've seen in our program that me and Nell run together, we have seen so many students who have tried and come and joined us to change the perspective, to change everything from here. Now, saying that, and with no further delay, I would like to introduce you to two of my amazing panel speakers here who currently work in Salesforce. Welcome, Nell and Ursula. Nell is the founder of Ask-a-Take program and is currently a senior manager in their professional services organization. And Ursula is a senior talent program manager focused on talent and skills development in South Africa. We are actually all joining from different parts. So I'm in US, Nell, who lives in US, currently in Liberia in West Africa, and Ursula is from South Africa. Although my conversation and discussion is all going to be, I'd be saying Africa or West Africa a little bit, but I think it's relevant for all the emerging markets. And I see Bangladesh, Dhaka, the community is an emerging market for me as well, because it's growing community for us. And, so let me start by asking to both of you the same questions probably. Nell, to start with you, tell us a little about your work and why you believe it's important for the emerging tech markets, such as Africa.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Hi, everybody. I know you said that Ask-a-Tech is, I'm the founder, but Sambeet is equally a founder as well. He's the co-founder. He's been helping me follow this dream of making sure that there's no talent left untapped. And I think that's what's really driving me into an untapped market, right? And so when we're talking about the potential of Salesforce and just the potential of the digital economy in general, there's so many talent that's not being marketed to, the access to success, the access to employment, and access to education that may lead to employment, oftentimes doesn't reach everybody. And so I think for me, being able to have already a community in West Africa and to leverage my network to make sure that people understand that this is an opportunity, I think that's what's been driving me. And I think that's what it's important. It's important for emerging market, because there's so many of us that are in markets that are developed, right, that can easily come back and be able to create that bridge that may not exist.
Thank you. What about you?
Trying to kill me, so if I dodge the word.
What about you, Ursula?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. In true African style, I am sitting under a tree somewhere because we've got load shedding. But just in the spirit of emerging market, nothing stops us. And I think it's true to the spirit of everybody sitting in that room. And I think for us in the emerging markets, the time has never been better. And I think if we just look at the opportunities, certainly, just from an emerging market South African perspective, Salesforce is going to create going to contribute 5.1 billion to the South African economy, and is going to create just under 32,000 new jobs. We are sitting with the highest ever unemployment statistics and in the recording history of unemployment in South Africa. But Salesforce has come in, and I suppose digital is coming in with this as a white, and I always say it's coming in this white and shining armor, you know, on this white horse kind of thing with so much opportunity. You don't need to have gone to university for however many years to enter into the technology space, even if you want to become a developer. In Salesforce, we've got low code. You know, the simplicity of the access to all is, I think, what is so very exciting for us in emerging markets. So accessibility, the simplicity, the timing becomes so important about us all, you know, sort of jumping onto this incredible bandwagon. I come and I've been working in the software industry for over 25 years. And you sit with Salesforce at the moment, which is the cost of digital education is basically free compared to some of the other technologies where you almost have to go and bond a house, you know, because it's so astronomically expensive. So the access for us is there. And quite frankly, the limitation is us. It's purely us. If we want and we have that drive inside of us, and you've obviously had lots of opportunities and lots of things, I suppose, ignited within each and every one of you today. It is about what you do with that fire that is now burning inside, because honestly, it's there for you and it's there for the taking. So to answer your question, Sambeet, I think the timing is perfect for us in the emerging markets. And I mean, for us to catapult ahead, you know, in comparison to our other, you know, sort of colleagues that sit in other territories, the opportunities are enormous. And it really is for us to make sure that we've got no shackles, that we are not limited by our own selves and ourself, and that we actually go forward with everything that's at our disposal. Learning journeys are there for us. The, you know, different learning journeys at different levels of work. If you want to start today to become a CTA, which is, you know, sort of the Rolls Royce sort of kind of role within a Salesforce environment, you can do it. So the art of possibility for us in emerging markets is 100% there.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful when you said the learning possibility that is available to us. Now, Nell, what do you see as a future of talent building and the education to employment pipeline for Salesforce professionals?
Yeah, I think this is what Ursula and I are also trying to define and target and specialize. Ursula comes with like worth of knowledge of how do we make sure that we take this digital skill and turn it and almost into the cultural nuances of the environments that we're in is right. It almost has to camouflage, right? Because the way in which like West Africans will learn and the needs that they will have may be different from Bangladesh or from everywhere else, right? Make sure that we're teaching the core skills of any technology, especially Salesforce, into an irrelevant place that is in Africa. So, for example, I wish I had my picture of my dashboard. For example, I'm in West Africa. We're doing this African tour, and the students are very new to cloud computing. Oftentimes, the building that we were in was the internet wasn't strong enough. I had to whiteboard a data model, right? And to really be able to say, this is kind of how you learn in-person conversation, right? Have the examples be related to where they are. I think that's kind of where we're going to go, right? When we talk about globalization, it's being able to take something and turn it into a place that everyone can be able to understand it based on their cultural competencies, their social competencies, and turn technology in a way that it fits everybody, right? I think that's kind of where we are going and what we're working on in Africa right now, trying to figure out how we can meet that need, how Salesforce can have an African flair to it, and learning from our counterparts that are in Asia, in South America, and what they're doing.
Thank you. Ursula, you touched upon some metrics initially about how Salesforce is building the economy, in terms of South Africa. How does Salesforce identify the emerging markets, and what makes of course, I mean, I would say Africa is special, but for that matter, any emerging market as a special for the company?
So I think, I think the fact that, so South Africa is the first legal entity in Africa that Salesforce has now established. And I think the fact that we have a Salesforce legal entity now presented itself in Africa is quite extraordinary, and I think is actually quite enormous, for the implication of people and for us on the African continent. And I think, we keep talking about the art of possibility, what is going to be happening for us here, business people, normal people on the street, is that we are going to be transformed, not only as professionals, as individuals, but most importantly, transforming organizations and businesses. And, over and above the impact that we are going to start to see here as an emerging economy. And I think the fact that they're starting with us now even puts us at an advantage point, is because we're learning from everything that's been done elsewhere in the world, which means we can catapult ahead in quite dramatic timing. But I think most importantly, with the philosophy and the value system that Salesforce presents itself with, which is business is the platform for change. Start to see not only transforming organizations, transforming how we do business, what it does for consumers, how we see, customers, and how we see that customer experience unfold. Costs, obviously, making more money at the end of the day. The impact that we're going to see in ordinary people's lives is going to be extraordinary. The impact that we're going to start to see in climate change is extraordinary. In fact, last week there were some announcements around some of the work that's going to happen now around climate change. So I think that with Salesforce having a stake in the ground here, it is monumental. And I don't even think we as, continent even understand the impact that it's going to have in our lives. And like I say, it's not only about the transforming of business, it's a transforming society. So there's not a day that doesn't go by where I'm, as you guys are, where we're not having conversations. Where do we find new talent in communities that have never been touched before? How do we go and build relationships with universities that haven't ordinarily been the universities of choice that organizations or software houses have worked with? So we're very much about everybody's included, everybody's invited, and everybody is welcome on this journey. And I think that for me is the most extraordinary impact that we're going to start to see unfold in so many incredible, dramatic ways, in a good way.
That's absolutely right. And you touched also about the transforming society. It's important for us to utilize our talent in building the community, in giving back to the society. Now, that's just switches me to the next question with Nell. And a lot of you who don't know, Nell and me, we work together here, but I connected with her and I was so motivated by her with her drive to giving back to the community. So Nell, my question would be, you started your journey of giving back on community development and building sustainable eco-villages, which has got nothing to do with Salesforce, but that was your priority when you started off. But then you transitioned into the work that you do today, in Askia Tech, and trying to build talent in the market right now. How did that transition happen for you?
So I think it was easy, right? For me, I think it was easy in a way that I like coding. I like solving problems, and Salesforce allows me to do that. And one of the things that I found in my nonprofit, my activities, is that I started my career supporting nonprofits and supporting governments in data transformation. How do you use technology to not only get the metrics that we want to report on, but how do we solve and that with technology, right? What does that initial effort gives? And then how do we make sure that the technology that's needed for us to be successful in the public sector? And so when Salesforce came up with the Success Pack, stuff, and Microsoft had some stuff as well. The cost then became, it was too expensive. Even though you're giving the licenses for free, it's too expensive for the implementation for nonprofits and smaller nonprofits. And so what I would do would say, for my both passions, I would do your Salesforce environment, create your cloud environment, and whatever money you have, let me have it so I can build physical in villages. And so I was start to do that, and then I got hired by Salesforce, and Salesforce is like, yeah, you can still do that. And I was like, okay, great. Which Salesforce is a really great company to allow me to continue to do that. The question then became, I used to come here, they used to ask me what I did, and I say, hey, I did Salesforce, and here is like Trailhead, this is how you learn. But then it became, but with all this knowledge, what next? What can I actually do with it? What can I actually do with the skills that Trailhead is free and is going to teach me to do? How can I actually get employed? And so again, it was another problem for me to figure out to solve. And so, and then working with the Talent Alliance team from Amera and saying, hey, now that we're on the continent in South Africa, here are the barriers to other people outside of South Africa, outside of the regions in which we're active. If I can help solve this, what kind of support can I get for that? And again, Salesforce has been 1,000% on whatever you need and how can we support you on that. You have that. Let's really figure out how we can do that together. And so it was just that easy transition into, I'm still creating, like Ursula was talking about, economic impact and social economic impact, and saying the need that exists, the ability for you to be financially stable in communities that have employable people, how can we do that? And so it went from me working in rural villages to me working in urban spaces, and now like a whole name change to my nonprofit. But it's that transition where Salesforce has allowed me to use both of my talents to do that implementation. And so I just kind of transition into it, still building communities and solving problems. It's just kind of different problems. And with Ursula and Stuart and Jackie and all these other people from the Amera region, talent development, although we're not physically in this region, they're willing to support and willing to help. And so I think for any emerging market, or with you guys over there, if you have an idea, if you need support, I know that Salesforce is 1,000% on board and trying to figure out how do we get people not only learning Salesforce, but how do we get people employed, right? And what does that look like? Is it through Salesforce itself, or is it through our partners? Or most importantly, is it through entrepreneurship? Do you guys want to open your own firms and try to do your implementation? Are you interested in building application? There's like so many different paths that you can take, but being at the table to have that conversation and being passionate about it to give time, I think that's kind of what's required as we move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you made it pretty clear. And one of the things, so just on a side note, maybe Askia Tech, we can go and start something in Dhaka and Bangladesh if we have the right support from the universities there, right? And that's building a whole new talent out there. I know we lost Ursula. She did mention earlier that she was in a spot where the connectivity is she's trying to connect, though she just slacked me up separately. But my question then would be for you, Nell, is, post-pandemic, the way we have started working, right? The shift in terms of how we work today. Either now, I know the offices are opening up right now in a more on a hybrid mode, but it was mostly from home. What do you think are the barriers? Now, we talked about the good things about how we would do it, but what are the main barriers that you think are in developing the emerging markets, especially post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think for me, it's infrastructure. I think it's access to internet, right, and accessible computer. That's what we're facing in a lot of the countries that we're in, and we're requiring students to be in urban spaces that have internet. That's something I don't know, I can't solve, but I think that as students are learning Salesforce and there's a demand for stable internet and better infrastructure to support a digital economy, I would hope that cities and governments would start to listen to that, to start to invest a little bit better, right? So if there's not a need, so we're saying that there's 9.2 million jobs that's available globally, right? And majority of those jobs are going to be online. You're going into a physical building and working online for a client remotely, or you're working from home, right? And so that infrastructure has to exist, access to internet. It's almost, I don't want to be so drastic and say it's a human right, but it's a need, right? It's something that has to happen, and I would hope that governments will start to see that employment now, it needs to be in this space, but that infrastructure needs to be invested in. I think for us, that's the biggest problem that we're facing. The second problem that I'm seeing, especially with working with universities here, is that it's not being taught. Cloud computing and CRM and stuff like that in developing worlds are not being taught at all. They're still working on TESOL, they're still working on system infrastructure, taking apart computers and putting it together and having that be IT. Even in the US, right? I don't think that there are actual cloud computing CRM classes that exist, right? And so your access to learning these things is either someone in the field that has pushed you to do Trailhead, or it's Trailhead itself. And so working with universities, working with academies, having individuals create academies who specialize in training effective, the theory of what cloud computing is, or Salesforce, and not only pushing people to just get certified, but to actually know what they're doing. I think that's the second thing that I'm saying is it's not really being taught in university, and it's not a lot of hands-on, in-person training options to introduce this field to new people outside of the ecosystem, and if you know someone in the ecosystem. And then the third thing is that a lot of people are getting certified, right? You can learn Trailhead, you can learn the theory, and you can take the exam and you can get certified. But those some people, once they do that, and you put them in front of the software, or you ask them, basic questions, or you work with, they can't implement what they have learned, right? And so their hands-on skill set are not meeting the certifications that they're getting. And so now, how do we bridge that gap to say, Trailhead is free, you have to be able to kind of get certified, but you're going to actually have to know the implementation of what you've learned, right? And I think that's why these communities like yourself, the Trailblazer communities, are really important. I know I require my students to do Trailhead Saturdays, to do Trailhead Tuesday, to do Trailhead Thursday. They're like, do you make these things up? And I'm like, I don't. But it's the ability to actually meet with your peers, get use cases, and actually work and do the job so that you can have these practical skills, right? And we're starting to do sessions where we're saying, forget the how, because you can ask a student, what is a profile? And a lot of them will tell you and teach you how to create a profile, but they can't explain to you what a profile is and what it does, right? And why is it important, and why is it different from a role? So to be able to have that soft skills and the practical together is the gaps that I'm seeing not only in the developed world, but as more and more people enter the ecosystem.
Right. And I think I just wanted to also add that if it's for you, then you will probably make Trailhead every day, not Thursday, Tuesday. Knowing you, it's so right.
I would make sure everyone has a practical lesson every day for them to do.
Oh my God. Okay. So Ursula is back. Ursula, my question earlier was for Nell was, what are we seeing as barriers to development in emerging market, especially in the post-pandemic post-pandemic? Would you highlight a little bit about that? Like, what do you think are, from a Salesforce overall perspective, now that you are driving that? Yeah.
Sure. So definitely the barriers, ironically, are
we lost you, Ursula. You can switch off the video just to save some bandwidth, probably. I think that would be helpful.
I know we lost her, but I just want to testify to access. Like, I have to learn data manage, like internet usage here, and it's a real thing. So like home, I just have access to internet. I don't think about it. But over here, I have to buy, my gigs of internet and manage it effectively, and know where to manage it. And in here, there's two different companies. There's multiple companies at home. I really don't have to worry about it until I go like hiking in the mountains. But over here, one neighborhood will have one provider, and the next neighborhood will have another provider, and you have to know the usage of data. I think when you're working, I don't know if it's the same in Bangladesh or elsewhere, but I think that when you're working online, to be able to be conscious of the amount of data that you're using every day and the cost of it, that in itself is a barrier. It's stressful.
I know. I think we lost Ursula again, but that's fine. So just to continue again, Nell, what would be your message to the community, the Dhaka community out here? How do you think they would get more benefited from the whole participation within the community itself? What is your message?
Be active. I think that the thing that you can be active and be engaged, right? Not just like, I love events and stuff, but if you have to be dedicated to building your skills, to reaching out to people, to leveraging your skills, right? Some people are not developers, and some people are not really functional, getting business requirements and etc. And so knowing where you are and where you want to go and how you want to build to, I say get a peer mentor, someone who's going onto the same developer track as you, right? I mean, the career track, right? So that you guys can work together and build off of each other's skills, right? So that you're creating a complete version of yourself as you're moving forward in your track. I will also say find a mentor within your group, right? Either physically or remotely, that you can say, hey, how did you get to where you're going? So that, I think we lost them.
No, we did?
Yeah, I think we lost the team. But I can still tell you my thing since it's being recorded.
Keep going, I think. Let me check.
Yeah, I think be active and being a mentor.
Just give a minute, Nell. Just hold on. I'm just checking. Mehdi, are we back online?
Yeah. Sorry for
carry on, Nell. All right. Nell, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, really be active in your community and find mentors. Mentors that are in your same track, a co-mentor to really support you, so you guys are learning and bouncing off each other. I think the second thing that I would advise is find a mentor that's a few steps above in your career. Like if you're a developer, find a technical architect or find a senior developer or a solution lead and etc. to be able to say, how did you get to where you're going, right? Building up this like roadmap for you and experience, and do it with one or two people. I think that's something that I would advise that people to do, because there's so much stuff, there's so much possibility that happens within this network. Being engaged and having someone to go through your journey with, I think it's going to be really important. And then having a guiding light, an industry mentor that can also guide you and refer you to people, refer you to use cases, allow you to understand what's new, within your path. I think it's going to be really helpful. We all are, kind of have this tunnel vision of who we know in our own little personal space. The more people you invite in that, the more your vision gets, widened, right? And the more opportunities you will have.
Thank you. And I see Ursula is back. So Ursula, my question would be, what is your advice to the talented folks who are, starting off or early in their trailblazing journey?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hallelujah. I think the most important thing for me is your relationship with learning. And there were that I got when Nell was talking about Salesforce Tuesdays and Salesforce Day. You have got to have a new relationship with learning. It's not that learning becomes events in our lives. We have got to learn to learn in the flow of work, as we refer to it, or learn in the flow of every single day. And just as a point in case, the Salesforce is upgraded every 4 months. Okay, so there's nothing static about Salesforce. So if we don't get into the habit of I mean, even Sambeet made the joke about if Nell could have Salesforce every day, she would have Salesforce every day, because the point is this machine is moving continuously. So my greatest advice is start to have a new relationship with learning. Start to make sure that it's captured in every single part of your day, in whatever shape and form it is. Whether you're learning about somebody who's, a manager you don't ever want to be, or they've got skill, or they've got behaviors that you don't ever want to, to represent within yourself. Or there's so many different places for us to learn about ourselves, not only professional technical skills. So I really would really urge everybody to form this new relationship with learning. We call it in the flow of work. Some of the learning experts refer to us, and all of us that have had a little bit of experience. We have had to be spending between 5 to 10 hours a week just keeping ourselves relevant, and that's 5 to 10 hours of learning over and above our day jobs. Okay, so the new world of work, or the now world of work, is moving so dramatically that it is so important for us to have this profound relationship on what learning and development is. And I cannot stress that enough. We hear about learning, unlearning, learning and unlearning, and all of those different things. If we don't get that right, we will be left behind. So we can have admin certifications now. We can get a Service Cloud certification now. Those certifications are being upgraded all the time. So if we're not keeping our finger on the pulse, if we're not working and we're learning with the times, we will be left behind.
Thank you so much. I think I picked up 2 things from what you and Nell mentioned. One is make learning a relationship. That's a very new concept for me as well, in understanding that. Because if you start make that as your habit, as part of your life, and it's not just about Salesforce, it's learning from everyone. Every single person that you meet today at any level, try to learn something new from that person. I think that's what it is all about. And Nell mentioned about mentorship. It is a tremendous support to have a mentor. A mentor is not he or she should be a Salesforce expert. A mentor is somebody who can guide you, can coach you in your journey. I would, thank you so much to both of you. And in my conclusion out here, I could just say something that I've learned over a period of time, that if you are difficult to believe in something that you desire, if you're finding it difficult to believe in something you desire, then go and ask someone to believe for you. That's a very powerful thing to do. I know, Ursula, you and me talked about it a little bit earlier as well. But you ask somebody, can you believe in me? Yes. If you believe in me, then I can do something really wonderful in my life. And that's very important, because one is you have to be humble enough to admit that you can't do everything alone. You need a partner. You need somebody else to work with you. And second, you have to be confident enough to say that, hey, I can do it. You just cannot say, oh, I cannot do it. No, be confident and be humble, asking for help, and also making sure that you're asking someone to be with you and support you. I think the Trailblazer community is such a forum where you have so many people supporting you, uplifting you, and and believing in you, in each other actually. And I probably think, speaking on behalf of both of you on this event, I would say this has been a great conversation with Ursula, Nell, and interacting with you. I would just say lastly that আমাদের কথা শোনার জন্য ধন্যবাদ. And I would open up for questions, if any, from your side. And I could see some trailblazers out here now.
Hi, Trailblazers want to say hi.
Hey, young girl. How are you? So we are. Hey, Donette. Good
Hi,
to see you all.
Hi guys. Hi.
So Nell is very active. She's in a boot camp right now in Liberia.
We actually have a session of like 30 students that just came from break, so I might have to go. And the Trailblazers were teaching the course while I was here. So
thank you. Just stay for 2-3 minutes more. I'll just open up to see to Mehdi and Arshad if we have any questions from their side. We can't hear you. Sorry, your mic is off, Mehdi.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to ask questions? Okay, Sambeet, everyone is fine. I would love to have 1 minute from you to state our gratitude. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Our community do appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Good to see you all.
Thank you, Ursula. Thank you, Nell. Bye-bye. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.